Hi everyone, Duncan here with Steele Industries. Today we're going to jump into some of the basics of night vision. In this short video, we're going to cover focusing your night vision device from your PVS-14, RVG, DTMVs, to how to use infrared, interpupillary adjustment, as well as some basic caretaking needs for your night vision units. So let's go ahead and jump right into focusing your device. So let's dive right into the PVS-14. So we're going to cover some basic operations of the PVS-14, gain control, constant IR, momentary IR, on, off, and how to set your focus for distance. So a lot of these PVS-14s are labeled on the control surface itself. So to turn it on is pretty straightforward. You're just going to twist it. You'll see here that we have an Elbit XLSH thin filmed green phosphor unit in here. So once you have the unit on, if you want momentary IR, you're just simply going to turn the same control surface, and you'll see it in the video that it is slightly getting brighter. That is the IR being turned on momentarily. So if you don't want momentary IR, you can have constant IR. You're going to pull up and twist it, and that's going to leave the IR on. What you'll notice in use in the device when you have the IR on, your light pipe will show. So that's going to be a red indicator in your image tube that you'll notice that either will be on during momentary IR or during constant IR. So once you have it on and you've figured out infrared, either constant or momentary, and now you're going to the front of the device, we're going to talk about gain control. This knob right here on the front of your device is gain control. Essentially, this is going to adjust your brightness of the unit. This is very beneficial in multitudes of circumstances, but we'll dive deep into that into another video. To adjust your gain knob, you simply turn it left or right to your desired gain. So once you have that, we're going to move right along into setting your distance. You know, when you get this device, it's probably going to be blurry to your eye. It's not set for any distance in particular when you get it. So let's go in how to focus that. So start back at the eyepiece. The eyepiece needs to be set at 0 when you start, or the diopter, whichever one you want to call it. Set it at 0, and then we're going to go back over here, and you're going to be doing this when in use. You're not going to be doing it like you see in this video. You're actually going to be using it. It is going to be helmet mounted, or you can do it handheld. But we're going to start with the objective itself. So you're going to set the objective to a desired distance that you require. It's not necessarily going to be picture perfect at the start or finish once you've adjusted your objective. That's when you're going to come back to your diopter or eyepiece, and you're going to clean that up for image clarity. You're going to do that probably a couple times, making some fine-tune adjustments. These units, along with our DTMVSs and RVGs, they are set to infinity. And what that means is you're going to have to adjust according to distance when you move. So I always like to find a happy middle ground when I'm setting my distance, but everybody's different. So if you have any questions about setting your PVS-14 distance, give us a call. Utilize our live chat feature or send us an email, and we'll be happy to connect with you. So let's move right along into the Actin Black DTMVs. So for a lot of new end users who are picking up the DTMVs, there are some subtle changes that have taken place. So for anybody who got an Actin Black DTMVs early on in the year, mid-year, until most recently, you actually have the functionality for momentary IR. A lot of units moving forward have no longer that capability to have momentary IR. Just a switch change, not necessarily a con. I actually think it's more of a pro. Most people don't use momentary IR in a lot of instances. Some other key features on the Actin Black DTMVs is the auto off and on. So when the pods are articulated up into the stowed position, they do automatically shut off. This is a programmable feature, so one of the benefits to having circuitry and everything else in the unit, you actually have that capability to program the auto on off to be either on or off. So some people want it on, some people don't. You have that luxury and that capability in the Actin Black DTMVs to do that. Some other cool attachments that are on the marketplace is the Actin Black IPD stops. So These can go on or off at any time. It is just 4 screws and brackets. It does mount to the rear of the device. So you'll put it on the back, and then you'll mount it with some brackets and some set screws there. So IPD, or interpupillary adjustment stops, really allow you to, instead of finagling, as I like to say, where your image tubes stop, you actually get to set that distance yourself. So from a user perspective, it really enables you to have an effortless experience. You don't have to worry about setting it every single time. If you articulate it up or down with the IPD stops, you're just going to be able to really set that distance and that stopping point each and every time for an effortless use. So let's move on right into setting the distance and setting your focus on the DTMVs. So very similarly to the PVS-14 that we just talked about, you're going to want to verify that your eyepieces or your diopters are set to 0. So once your diopters are set to 0, that's a really good starting point. You're going to flip it back over, and when in use, you're going to start with either the left or the right side of your device. My recommendation to all end users is going to be do one image tube at a time. Your brain will kind of distort if you don't. So just some tips and tricks there. Close one eye and focus the objective to your desired distance first. Come back, clean it up with your diopter here in the back, and then do the same on the other side. A lot of times, or in some instances, you'll notice that you need to do some minute adjustments after the fact. Don't worry, pretty normal in that instance. But once you have that all set, you're pretty much rocking and rolling on the range, hiking, or anything else you're looking to do. I will also note that the DTMVs does have set points that if your interpupillary adjustment on your face is too wide, the device is really not necessarily designed for use by you. Because if it's articulated too much, it's going to turn off. Now you can turn, like I had mentioned before, you can turn off the auto on-off feature and still use your device if you do have a wider interpupillary adjustment distance. But just be mindful of that. There are certain thresholds that the program has in place for it to determine if it's going to turn off or on, dependent upon the position that it's articulated. So just something to be mindful about. So let's move right along into the next unit, which will be the RVG. So lastly, let's talk about the last unit that we manufacture here at Steele Industries, the AB Night Vision RVG. Happens to be my personal unit, my favorite. I'm always a big advocate for fixed bridge units just because it's user-friendly. I like to say it keeps it stupid simple. So moving on to some RVG features and how to operate the device. Very similar to the PVS-14 in a fact that to turn it on, you're just going to twist the knob. Momentary IR, very similar, exactly like the PVS-14. You're just going to twist it for momentary IR or pull and twist for constant IR. Unlike the DTMVs and the PVS-14, you will notice that your control surface is not labeled. So just once again, twist for on, pull twist for constant IR, or just twist for momentary IR. Moving on to some other features of the RVG. So similar to the DTMVs, you do have interpupillary adjustment. It just operates in a different fashion. Being that it's a fixed bridge housing, you don't have articulation, you don't have that auto on shut off. But on each side, you do have your IP knobs. So on your left and your right surface, you have knobs for IP. Setting the IP on the RVG, pretty straightforward in a sense. You're just going to turn the IP adjustment knobs until you set that focal point of your eye. So once you set it, you pretty much forget about it unless somebody else needs to use your unit and has different IP than you. Some other key features and uses of the RVG, all RVGs moving forward and have for some time, do include the AB Night Vision RVG riser. This riser, if you need to know how to mount it, we did cover that in another video. Essentially, just for quick reference, you're going to remove the 4 set screws here. You're going to install the riser, and then you're going to add the dovetail back on top with those set screws. Set screws and tools are included with the RVGs, so you don't need to go out and buy anything there with that. And that's pretty much the RVG in a nutshell. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope we were able to kind of elaborate briefly on the operation functions of the PVS-14, the RVG, and the DTMVs. We're going to have some other videos coming out here shortly about all three of these units, how to use them both on and off the range. If you have any questions about these units or how to do any of the functions you saw here today, please shoot us an email, give us a call. We're happy to help. As always, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment down below on some more content you'd like to see. And as always, stay nocturnal.